Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. This is Cody, and I'm here with Justin and Brett, who are both gaining an episode on Joe tonight. So suck it, Jenka.
Woo.
And we're talking about a new offering here on Disney Plus tonight. Get to that in just a moment. It sounds like we all survived the recent heat wave across the United States. And well, let's start with Justin, who is maybe the least hot. I guess I don't know that for sure, but Justin, what have you been up to recently?
You're right about the least hot, and yes, I know I walked right into that one. But yeah, we up here up here in Upper Michigan where I live, we seem to be in our own little pocket dimension because I know you said yesterday what the heat index down by you was like 110 or something like
Oh,
that,
at
or
least, yeah, at least.
yeah, it was 65 degrees up here yesterday. Today it was like mid 70s and humid, which felt uncomfortable, but I know it's nothing compared to what you folks have been dealing with. I've been looking at weather reports from just kind of all over, and I somehow we are just in our own little niche that's separated from everything else, and I don't know how we manage it, but I'll take it. Um, but aside from avoiding the worst of the climate apocalypse that's happening already, I've been playing through more of Baldur's Gate 3, not as much as I would have liked, because work, everyone's decided to take time off at the same time at work. That's meant extra shifts. It's meant, having to do other people's jobs for them. When I get home, a lot of the time, this past week, I just haven't felt like doing much of anything. But that said, I do have some time coming up next week, and I actually the rest of us do too for a bit of a get together where we'll get to see each other in person for the first time in at least a year for most of us, which I am very much looking forward to. It's it's been a summer. Um, but yeah, other than a bit of Baldur's Gate 3, my Pathfinder game, tabletop RPG, is finally getting back off the ground again starting tomorrow. I'm very, very excited for that, even though I'm probably going to be kind of exhausted because I work in the morning. Yeah, there are some definite positive things, most involving fantasy RPGs, come to think of it. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling. It's been a long week. Brett, what have you been up to?
The probably the biggest thing I've been dealing with lately is phone issues, which has been a real pain in the taint the last week or so. Um I think I nearly killed Cody.
That's a new
Um,
phrase. and,
um
and see that coming.
the, my phone, I've only had it for a month. Now
Oh,
I bought it refurbished, but from Samsung directly. So I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna trust this thing. I had it for a month and it suddenly stopped connecting to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Cannot even turn them on, let alone
oh,
connect to a signal.
Yikes.
So it's kind of thrown like my all my routines into like a this weird limbo because I can't listen to like things like podcasts and things in the mornings on my drive, and I like I can't just browse and play games and stuff in the evenings because it just uses mobile data. So it's like quite
Wow.
crappy. But as far as fun things, I a few days ago I did go ahead and purchase Starfield, so now I'm just in the holding pattern till September 6th when that comes out.
It's a bug hunt,
Um,
man. A bug hunt.
well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is so we'll see what they have a track record of having buggy games on launch, but we'll see. But um and this last week, my wife and I have been watching a show. It's on Peacock, called The Traders. And this is it's a reality show, like a reality game show, which is pretty hit or miss for me. Whether I don't often like those because it just ends up being a bunch of like pointless drama between people just like being over dramatic for no reason.
right.
But overall, this one was pretty fun. There was basically the setting is like you got 20 players, And they're in this Scottish castle. It's not a castle. It's just a mansion that looks like a castle kind of thing, you know. But we were like, oh, I mean, the setup looks pretty cool. Let's check this out. And so there's like challenges where they're trying to earn money for this pot that can be won at the end of the game. And every evening they all get together and have to vote someone out. Okay, well, I'll back up a second. So out of the 20, 3 of them are chosen as traitors, like secret traitors who are trying to undermine like everything that's going on in this mansion. And so the players each evening try to vote out a player who they think is one of the traitors. And then at night, also the traitors, air quote, murder one of the other players, and so basically they're out of the game. So like every day you're losing 2 players from the game. So it whittles down pretty fast from the 20. But it was pretty good overall. We enjoyed it. There were definitely multiple people at the start of the game where I was like, I cannot stand these people. This is going to be a long show if I have to end. But most thing I voted out like early.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I can deal with it now. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth checking out if you're into that stuff. You know, like reality game kind of, it's like a Survivor kind of setup. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to. But you, Cody?
My free time's been really limited since I've been back to school here. This is the second week we've been back, but I'm trying to think of things I have gotten in. I don't think I ever did mention, Brett. We did finally finish watching The Mole on Netflix, the newest season. Karen and I actually, which probably the first show the two of us have watched in a long time, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, it was a little more drama-y than the old ones were, with a few more F-bombs thrown in here or there and stuff, but it was still pretty good. I definitely did not guess who the mole was. Of the 3 people left at the end, it was the person I least thought it was, so I have to give him credit for being a good mole, which I won't spoil in case anybody does want to watch that. So that, and I guess maybe just to throw a plug out there, I'm excited for this weekend as we're recording this. So this will drop the day after AEW has a big pay-per-view Sunday, 2 days from when we're recording this, in London, England. And it is, I think it's their first time going over there that I know of. And they sold out Wembley Stadium SummerSlam 92 style. So I think they're up to 82,000 tickets they've sold for this event. Like it's probably like almost 4 times the biggest event they've ever ran. Wow. I know they get a big crowd in New York when they do one of the stadiums there, but it's just a crazy WWE colossal style crowd. And I think they have like, I don't even know, 5 hours of matches. They're going to do 6 hours of matches, something crazy on Sunday. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to rent that here on pay-per-view. I couldn't find it in a movie theater, which is what I usually do, but I guess it was partially because somebody told me today at school it had something to do with a contract, but it also had to do with it's live in England. So it's on at 11 a.m. here on Sunday, which is highly unusual for a start time for that. Yeah. But it's kind of nice because I can watch the whole thing and like still have the evening. So that's kind of cool. Other than that, I guess the thing I'm most excited about this week is we just got our car back this evening for the first time in like 3 weeks. We've had only one car, and it's been real challenging with me working and Karen being nice and working from home mostly, but then the kids are back in school and they have music lessons here and there. And I had curriculum night at my high school last night I had to be at, and just all these other side things, which just get tricky to navigate with one car when you got to go 10, 15 minutes in one direction. But yeah, so they basically repaired like, I don't even know, 5 things on our car. It was under warranty still till October, for a 5-year warranty from when we bought it. And so everything broke at the right time. We brought it in for air conditioning, and they ended up fixing like 3 things in the engine, and they rotated the tires, did an oil change, and fixed like everything up brand new. So I guess it's good. It just was not fun to not have the other car for so long, but we had to rent a couple of cars for a day here and there, but it worked out. Whew. All right. Well, I guess we'll get to our main topic here tonight, which is shitting on Andor. So that show sucked. Just kidding. But not really. But we are talking about Star Wars tonight. We're checking out Ahsoka on Disney Plus. This is a character that had debuted. We had to double check this both in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett prior to having her own series here on Disney Plus. I guess we should probably say at the outset of this, if anybody is listening and is a huge fan of the cartoons, we are not your three hosts to have host this episode. Has anybody seen any episodes of any of them?
I have
Yes.
not. I'm not sitting through, was it 130 episodes of Clone Wars just to watch a 6-episode show? Or 8 episodes, however many this is.
Yeah, I don't know. So this is a character, I guess we should just say, who debuted in the cartoons of the Star Wars canon, the Clone Wars, and then also Star Wars Rebels. It looks like later on some of these characters were in that.
There was another one?
Oh, yeah. That one's still on Disney Plus, I believe. You could check that one out, Justin.
Oh,
they might both be on that, actually, but I don't think it has as many episodes as the other one does. It doesn't have one for every clone trooper like the other one does. So, but this is a character that I know the fans of the cartoons were excited to see come to live action. They chose Rosario Dawson to play this role, and we can talk about how she's done with that so far, I guess, here in a little bit. But just real quick, this is going to be, looks like an 8-episode miniseries on Disney Plus. They played 2 episodes, a little unusual for the debut. I'm not sure why they did that. Most of their Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars shows, I think, are only 1 usually. So I don't know what the rationale behind that was, unless they're trying to end it on a certain date. Maybe that was it.
That might be.
Looks like it runs to October 3rd currently, and I know they're still trying to squeeze in I Am Groot, Loki season 2, and I think they had Echo planned. I don't know if that'll still make it or not, but so they have a few more there we're going to try to get in between Marvel and Star Wars yet this year. Real quick on this one, we can come back to some of these performances later, but just to kind of set up the show for people here, real quick rundown of the main characters in this show. So we have Rosario Dawson playing the titular Ahsoka Tano, who is basically a Jedi in all but the term of the word, I suppose. Was a former apprentice to Anakin, which we can talk about also. We have actress named Natasha Liu Bordizzo, who plays, I can never say this name right. Is it Sabine Wren? Is that how you say her first name?
Yeah.
That might be the first time I've said it right. This is Ahsoka's former, not protege. What's the word I'm looking for here? Padawan. Apprentice. There we go.
Padawan.
And she is also Mandalorian. So that's kind of interesting because we've seen Grogu as kind of the tie between the two worlds a little bit here as well. Well, Justin hasn't because he hasn't gotten that far, but
yeah,
someday. We have Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I know Joe is excited to see in the credits here. This makes me think back to Ramona Flowers and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Been a while here. She plays General Hera Syndulla. And we should pause right there and just mention that this show is kind of also unique for Star Wars because the 3 main leads are 3 females. So perfect that we have 3 guys here to analyze this. Hate mail can come in. At least it's male. All right. And then on the other side of the force, we have Ray Stevenson, who they dedicate the first episode to. We can talk about as a... Well, they have him listed as a dark Jedi here. So I don't know if he's Sithy or we could talk about that too. But Baylan Skoll is the name of his character. And he's really the only human male that we see in these first 2 episodes that's of importance, I would say. We have his apprentice, who is, I could butcher this, but it looks like Ivana Sakno, who is his apprentice, also a dark Jedi they list here. We have a character named Morgan Elsbeth, played by Diana Lee Inosanto, who is basically a witch in the show, but they call her one of the Night Sisters of Dothamir, which sounds like we're headed into Lord of the Rings territory here.
Crossover confirmed.
Right? And then we have David Tennant. I didn't realize that even. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voices, how do you say this guy's name? Hu Yang?
Huyang.
Huyang, something like that. Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny thing about that character as we go through here, but oh, that was a role also from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Apparently, that's a returning character too. Who knows these things? And then we haven't seen in the show yet, but we have had hints of that there will be two other characters that'll be pretty pivotal here: Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn. We have not seen them on screen per se yet, so that's kind of our cast. And first two episodes, we're not going to do like a real deep plot analysis on this, but just to kind of give you the quick one over here. This is just from Wikipedia, episode 1 and 2. Episode 1 was called Master and Apprentice. Baylan Skoll, former Jedi, now working as a mercenary, and his apprentice, Shin Hati, assault a New Republic cruiser to rescue Morgan Elsbeth, who had previously been captured by Ahsoka. Elsbeth informs Skoll that Ahsoka is searching for Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was previously defeated by Ezra Bridger. Ahsoka and Huyang obtain a star map to the location of Thrawn and potentially Bridger before being informed of Elsbeth's escape. Regrouping with the fleet, Ahsoka meets with General Hera Syndulla, whereupon Huyang reveals that the star map is still locked. Syndulla advises Ahsoka to obtain the help of Sabine Wren, Ahsoka's former Padawan, in unlocking the map. Just as Wren unlocks the map, she is confronted by Shin, who steals the map and stabs Wren during a duel. That's episode 1. And then episode 2, it's called Toil and Trouble. When Wren recovers and informs Ahsoka of her findings, traces the droids that attacked her to Elsbeth factories on Corellia. Seeking the star map, Ahsoka and Syndulla travel to the Corellian shipyards. They discover a massive hyperdrive being built by workers loyal to the Galactic Empire. Syndulla chases after the transport carrying the hyperdrive while Ahsoka duels Marok, a former Inquisitor who is now working for Elsbeth. Marok and the transport escape, but not before Syndulla's astromech droid Chopper attaches a tracking device. After arresting the shipyard workers, Ahsoka is contacted by Wren, who is ready to become her Padawan again and find Bridger. Elsbeth is being contacted by Skoll, Hati, and Merrick, who obtain the hyperdrive so they can finish building her ship, the Eye of Sion, and help find Thrawn. So that's the quick overview of all of this. So I guess, I don't know. Justin, I know you are a little behind on The Mandalorian. Did you watch Book of Boba Fett?
I heard pretty bad things, so no.
Wow. Okay, the IRS was big fans, so... Well, let's start with Brett first then, I guess. I mean, Brett, first question I have, I guess, basically is, were you excited to see a show focused on this, who has really been a side character to us in the Mandoverse, if you haven't watched the cartoons? Is this somebody you were excited to see in a TV show of her own?
Yeah, I definitely was interested in seeing this. If not only because it's like the first and only like force wielder that we've seen in all of Star Wars, basically. But just because it looked like it had like from what we had seen from her in Mando and Boba Fett, she seems like she has like kind of a certain like flair to her. She definitely has like more bit of personality than like a typical Jedi does, who was very just stoic and like dutiful. So I was interested to see like what kind of character relationships and things would have in the series. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, like I said earlier, I haven't seen any of the animated stuff. So I knew like nothing about this character going in. No history at all, really.
Okay. And then Justin, did you know who this character was before we started this?
I knew she was in the Clone Wars show. I didn't know Star Wars Rebels was a thing until you brought it up like 5 minutes ago. But I know she was popular in that show. I knew she had made a cameo in at least The Mandalorian, apparently Book of Boba Fett too. Other than that, I had seen pictures of her, and that was all I knew. I didn't know much about her personality, her history, like where she was from, what roles she played in the Star Wars extended canon. This was almost a completely blank slate for me going in, and yeah, that and I think that gave me probably a bit of a different perspective than a lot of people who were watching this show, especially the ones it was designed for, who had watched all of the cartoons and knew and liked this character heading into it, and had expectations and whatnot.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I do have to wonder, like, because I consider myself a Star Wars fan. I've had periods where I've kind of been more in and out of love with it, as different projects have come out through the years. But I've never watched the cartoons. I've never really felt the need or the want to watch the cartoons. But I know, the hardcore Star Wars fans probably would have seen all of those. And I do have to wonder, like, how much of the Star Wars fandom is like in our shoes, where we watch the live action stuff but have never seen the cartoons. I don't know if we're in the minority or the majority on that. Be interesting to see, I guess. But I was kind of like Brett. Just this character has like a presence about her where, she has one thing Star Wars has done really well with these TV shows in particular, I will say, is the characters that they've brought to the live screen have had like a certain look about them that has made me like kind of intrigued by them. Like Mandalorian himself does look like all the other Mandalorians, yes, but yet he has something about him that just makes him kind of pop off the screen a little bit. And she always kind of had that too to me. With we were looking up before the episode started because I didn't know exactly what is race even the right word? Is it species at that point? I guess it's species, hey?
probably, yeah.
And we determined that she was, what did I say it was here now? I already forgot. Start with a G, right? Don't kill us, people out there. She wasn't a Twi'lek, which is what I know the people with the two tentacles on their head are. Yes, you're right. She is a Togruta. Togruta, which has kind of more the horn type things on top of the head, and then the three things apparently down her back instead of the two. So very different look again. And just she herself actually is kind of cool looking too, just because she has like almost like the zebra stripes going on with her skin, which is different than anybody else I think we've seen in Star Wars.
I mean, I assume that's like it's not like face paint, or that's like actual just like skin pigment, I'm guessing.
I would imagine.
But I don't know.
I wondered that actually in the show, because I assumed like the stuff on her tentacles was her skin, but I didn't know about the like face stuff. If that was painted on or
no idea, just a thought that crossed my mind.
Yeah. But just visually kind of stands out. And I know we haven't seen him yet, but Grand Admiral Thrawn, I think, has blue skin, if I'm not mistaken, too. So he also
I saw a picture. Yeah.
Stands out a little bit. So we got some kind of cool looking people in here. And then
looking at a few pictures of other Togruta, it looks like they do have facial markings as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So we'll assume
we'll make that assumption.
Yes, we'll make that assumption. If any Togruta out there want to leave us a message, let us
know. George Lucas is furiously typing away at his keyboard right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that's just what he's doing as he burns his dollar bills to keep his house warm, just because he wants to, not because he has to. All right,
120 degrees outside. He doesn't need to.
Yeah, right. So, all right. So let's get into this a little bit. So maybe let's talk about some of the performances here, as we've seen through 2 episodes so far. So has there been a character or two that's kind of really stood out to you? I mean, is it Ahsoka that's kind of controlled the show so far, or has there been somebody else that's kind of taken the spotlight as you've been watching?
This is interesting because to me, I feel like Sabine really takes more of the spotlight, both in terms of like her performance and what we see of her, but she also seems to get the most screen time. It's almost like this is her story instead of Ahsoka's, despite the name of the show, which I was not expecting, especially because I had never heard of the character before going in. Again, that is due to my lack of exposure to the source material, but I figured the focus would have been more firmly on Ahsoka herself instead of another very important character, clearly, in Sabine, but not what I thought was going to be like the one taking center stage.
Yeah, I might also lean towards Sabine. It definitely seems to have more. They're kind of setting you up for wondering about her history and her character path. There's one thing that I mean, we'll circle back to it on before, but later. But you don't really get a lot of backstory of these characters,
Yeah.
and so, but like, I don't wonder about Ahsoka as much as I do about Sabine. Like, there seems to be more of a history there, something interesting to learn about. So I'm interested to see if we get more of that. She definitely is an interesting character in that she's basically like this little like punk rocker kind
Yeah.
of biker chick looking. That's kind of like the way they present her in this. I assume that's probably the same in the animated series. Again, I don't know. But I probably would, yeah, as the most interesting character that I want to see right now, it probably is her.
Okay. Yeah, my kids hooked onto her pretty quick too. I think with the fun colored hair, she's got multicolored hair, and riding not the motorcycle, speeder bike or whatever
Speeder
the
bike.
version was that she had. And yeah, I mean, I was intrigued when they kind of showed the Mandalorian helmet the first time with her too, and was like, "Ooh, what's this person's story?" But just to say somebody different, I guess I'll say the so this show is interesting because one thing I like that they've done through 2 episodes, and I was worried they were going to ruin this within the first 2 episodes, is they've introduced to me like 4 bad guys that are interesting already. Like they have their own distinct personalities. They're different from each other. They have like slightly different strengths and weaknesses, and none of them are the big bad of the show yet. So we have like the witch and the guy in the mask, but then the 2 that really to me steal the show here are the 2, they're calling them Dark Jedi, I guess. Balin Skull and Shin Hati, who to me just looks like a really pissed off young Wanda from the MCU. Every time I see her, I think it's like that same actress. It's interesting. She's got a very familiar face to
Intense.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, super intense face. Like she is concentrated on everything. And then something about that Ray Stevenson as Balin Skull too. He really like he commands presence in the show too. And I don't know if that's because he is the only male in the main roles or what it is, but he as the master of the master apprentice relationship has had some moments that are kind of interesting in the first 2 episodes already where like he is told to basically like go kill Ahsoka at the end of one of these, and like he's like that'd be a terrible waste, like she's a Jedi, there's not many left, and so he has like remorse for people that he's seemingly working against, which was intriguing to me. Number 1, and then number 2 is like he's clearly working for the bad side, and he makes even some comment about that we'll have more power than we could possibly imagine or something. But there definitely seemed to me that there was a part of him that didn't fully trust like the witch either. Like he's trying to do what he can to advance within the ranks of villainy, if you will, but he also doesn't seem to trust the people around him, but not overtly. So that's kind of intriguing to me too.
And
Yeah,
I was kind of wondering. Oh, go on.
All right. Oh, he seems like very like a mercenary type. He's like, okay, well, this is where I'm getting paid. This is what I'm gonna, I'm loyal as long as you're paying me, but I don't necessarily agree with what's going on here. Even there's a little bit of a hint of that to me.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Justin?
Regarding Morgan, the witch, I was wondering if he didn't trust her just as a person, or if that the whole, what was it, Dark Sisterhood or whatever they were called, the
Night Sisters?
Night Sisters, yeah, or were they just mistrusted overall? Like I don't have any real history or exposure to them, so I do have questions about. I mean, because I'm assuming that they were, generally on the dark side of the Force and everything, but were they particularly untrustworthy, or or is it just this one woman because he doesn't know her well enough yet? So I had questions about that.
Okay. Yeah, and then this is not a character. This maybe get into plot a little bit here, but it was intriguing to me that I don't even know because terminology and teams always flip so much in Star Wars. Like, what are the good guys in this? Are they the rebels at this point? Are they the
New Republic?
New Republic? Okay.
New Republic.
It was interesting to me that they were looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn as like intently as they were before they knew like that this Ezra guy could have been with him. It seemed like, you know, and it was like they're doing anything they can to like find where this one bad guy leader could be, even though they all seem to think he was like blown way the hell away from where they're currently at. But, you know, I don't know if this guy's that dangerous. Like, it was intriguing. I just be like, he's gone, you know.
And this, I have something to say regarding him, but that would get into the plot. I'm not sure if we're ready for that part yet.
Yeah, go for it. Let's just start bringing stuff out.
Okay, so the overall plot of this does center around trying to find Grand Admiral Thrawn, like you said, but the map that is supposed to lead to him is they find it in this ancient temple, like it's sealed up.
Yeah.
Ahsoka has to cut her way into it. She has to solve this like Indiana Jones type puzzle trap thing to get this, you know, the MacGuffin, the map out of it. And it doesn't look like it's been disturbed in a very long time. And yet it feels like Thrawn himself was banished not that long ago. So why is there a map in an ancient temple if he only was just recently banished? Why would this lead to where he was sent? You know, it almost makes him feel like something more than mortal, like he's some sort of ancient evil force that, you know, might come back and has been banished, you know, way out into the far reaches of not this galaxy, as it turns out, but we'll get there. But so it almost feels like there's this more mythical quality to him that I know can't be the case, because he was a dude, you know, seemingly mortal, but, you know, working for the Empire and all that. But the way that's all set up, it leads me to a lot of questions regarding just basic comprehension of who he is and why he was sent where he was and all that, you know.
Yeah, that was the second thing I wrote down in my notes when I'm watching this. It was like, it's another situation where we have an ancient map pointing to something that just happened the other day.
It's freaking Rise of Skywalker. Is this not the same plot to Rise of Skywalker?
And I mean, they do, it does, you know, in the second episode, it kind of explains that it's not pointing to him exactly, you know, but it still, it was like, because we didn't know that yet, that was one of the first things I reacted to, was like, wait, what? No, not again. But yeah, I mean, there's so many questions that we don't have any answers yet as to how did Thrawn, so in the battle, he apparently like something exploded, he was perceived to be dead, and then there was like hints that he survived. Well, so somehow he's in another galaxy. How did he get there? How does anyone know he's there? Why is it this specific point that this map is pointing to? And why would anyone have any clue that this map is pointing to where he's at? It's just like,
thank you.
None of that train of logic there. I mean, I hope they flesh it out and it does make sense, but at this point makes no sense at all. There's like nothing connecting that to anything logical. So, I mean, I don't know. I hope they fix it, but we'll see.
That's interesting because I didn't even think about that watching the show. And then I can answer one of those questions at least for you, but I'm looking up the rest. But to answer some of those, I saw somewhere, and they might have used the term in the episode. I didn't have closed captioning on for this one, but they said apparently like Ezra and Grand Admiral Thrawn basically like got caught on the side of those space whales that we saw introduced in one of the other shows, and like they migrated across the universe and dragged them with them all the way across the universe somehow. So I read that somewhere. I don't know where it's at now, but I did see that, which is kind of bizarro. But
interesting thought.
Some people are speculating that apparently the map that they found in the orb was just that. It was like the most like ancient comprehensive map of the universe. But it's actually her magic, the witch's magic, that allows somehow to find on the map where they're at. I don't know how that's explained, but so basically it's just like, here's the planetarium, and something about her magic allows her to like pinpoint where Thrawn would be located, more or
And
less.
that's a little bit better comprehension wise,
But that
still
even
leaves
doesn't track
questions.
because Sabine had already opened the map before that. Did
Yeah.
she? Yeah, she saw where the point was before that, right? Yeah.
I think
Yes,
so, yeah.
there was
Yeah.
definitely a line pointing to a galaxy that she saw.
Yeah, good call.
I will say, as she was fiddling with that, there was a part of me in the back of my head that really, really wanted at some point James to pop out of that thing and then Pinhead to appear behind her. Yeah, we have such sights to show you.
That would have been
It looks
amazing.
like a spherical version of the Pinhead box. It really does.
Sure, yeah.
I thought it was like a Rubik's Cube, and I was like, this is such a fancy Rubik's Cube. Oh my gosh. Like I wouldn't own a Rubik's Cube, but I would own one of those Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah.
I mean, while we're on that, so the puzzle box itself, Ahsoka's like,
We're just calling it
we
that.
can't figure this thing out. This is an impossible puzzle, and it literally just has 3 sides that turn. And it's like there's only like, I don't know the math in my head right now, but there's only like a dozen combinations, possible combinations to put this thing together the right way, and they couldn't figure it out.
No.
But
I couldn't tell how
Anyway.
complex it was. I'll be honest there, but it's that's funny.
But can we go back to the
Yeah.
other galaxy thing for a second?
Yes, this is big,
Oh,
Justin. Tell us about it.
Okay, so it leads to obvious questions, but to me, some of the main ones at the forefront of my head are, okay, does the Force work the same way in this other galaxy? Does this other galaxy have its own Jedi, its own Sith? Is there any sort of corollary to the stuff going on in the galaxy we're familiar with? That's what's going to happen there, or is this like a Mass Effect Andromeda situation where it's going to be completely different and nothing from before is going to matter or come into play or be relevant? It opens a gigantic can of worms, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea, in all honesty, because they have to handle this really well for it not to feel just cheap, or if not cheap, then at least more than they can really manage. Because trying to populate and flesh out an entirely new galaxy, when we have such a rich one that we could have been working with already, that's a majorly tall order, and I have grave misgivings about how well they're going to handle it.
I mean, personally, from like a storytelling perspective, I would prefer to see this other galaxy in some form, but I would suspect they're just going to open a portal and he's going to pop out of it. Just like, God, I'm glad you guys opened this thing. I've been waiting here for days. And just walk out. And here he is.
Your food
in our
is
world.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I did see. I took a screenshot of that somewhere, but I can't find it now. But yeah, essentially, so we're talking a 46-year-old franchise, and this is the first time they've gone beyond the galaxy or had mention of beyond the galaxy. Now it's like in a long time ago in another galaxy far, far away, even farther away than the original galaxy. Yeah, that's a risky move, because there's no reason they couldn't have just said like it's on the edge of the galaxy or whatever, because
That's true.
basically where they have everything else happen. So
right,
why have it be there? I don't know. Boy, that would be interesting. What would they find out there?
Have any of you read like any of the extended fiction, the novels, or anything like that? Because I'm wondering, did they ever mention like different galaxies in those, or not? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I know those aren't canon anymore, but at least maybe there would have been some precedent for that kind of extremely long distance voyage. But I just have so many questions right now.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to see where that goes.
And I guess I said portal as a potential thing, but they're building a ship to go there, so. See,
my worry is they're going to spend like all 8 episodes leading up to that, and then they're going to end with them getting there, and then it's going to be, stay tuned for season 2 or for one of the movies or something. That's kind of my worry about this. Like you're gonna just kind of pass the buck to the next director to figure out how to populate this new area and make it convincing. So I maybe I'll be proven wrong. I kind of hope I am, but I don't know. You know,
Pacing wise, they probably should. I mean, they to go get him and then bring him back and then presumably defeat him all in this one season seems like a lot to do.
Mhm.
Without it feeling like compressed or like, missing plot
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, it's hard to say because
Considering-
on the other hand, like at the end of episode 2, like what else are they doing? Like
Yeah,
Sabine's gonna train, but presumably they could do that while they're autopiloting through space. I mean, seems like they're kind of
But-
on the hunt already, but I also don't know like how the General Syndulla fits into that. I also
And
don't
by
know
the-
how long it takes to fly across the galaxy.
I would imagine quite a while.
Well, who knows,
Except for the fact that he apparently got shunted out there, with the blink of an eye. But yeah, it does feel like was it just me or did these first 2 episodes feel really padded sometimes? Like we spent a good amount of time with Ahsoka, just poking around in that ancient temple, shifting things around and getting them lined up. We spend an awful lot of time with Sabine fiddling with the with the puzzle box. It just feels like they're trying to stretch out the time, already, and that does kind of also have me worried that maybe they don't have exactly enough material to fill 8 episodes, and they're trying to pad it. Was I the only one who kind of felt that way at times, or?
Well, I guess I would probably disagree with you from my perspective, just because I know like the last season of The Mandalorian I really enjoyed, but this one in particular, like we watched the 2 episodes one night and then the next night, and like I found myself actually like sitting on the edge of the couch, sitting forward watching this. Like I was just so enthralled with the things that were happening and the new characters. And honestly, I think maybe a little bit of some of our criticism in these earlier shows on Disney Plus also has been that sometimes they try to go too fast at times. They do pad at times as well, but sometimes it's like they need to let the scene breathe a little bit. Like, if you're going to have Ahsoka go look for this thing, then show us the process of her trying to find this thing and moving around her little Indiana Jones style towers to make lights work and things like that. And I'm okay with all of the Sabine scenes as long as the cute cat animals in them. So,
can I speak about that thing for a second?
yeah.
I liked it, except that
no, you can't. Cut off.
No,
all right, we ran out of time.
Well, it's essentially stolen from Studio Ghibli. I mean, it's the ears of a Totoro shoved onto the body of that weird little dog from Howl's Moving Castle, complete with the weird skinny bare legs that it has.
I mean, it's definitely like an amalgamation of. I think I counted 4 animals. I thought it was part of when we were watching it. I can't remember the
I don't know.
But...
I like it, but it did feel very derivative to me because I saw the ears, or I saw the legs first. And I'm like, I've seen that before, and then Bing Howl's Moving Castle popped into my head, and then I saw the ears. I'm like, they just put a Totoro head on that thing. The face is a little different, but otherwise, it's a Ghibli creature.
Could be.
Yeah.
I do sympathize partially with the directors who do these Star Wars shows because Star Wars has always had like such a wide range of creatures and races and things like that. So I can imagine when they do a new one like this, they're like, shit, what are we going to put in this one? What kind of race have we not done yet? What kind of creature have we not done yet? Can't be.
That is kind of a fun thing about these series is that like each one has its own like cute thing.
Yeah.
And it's like unique to that series. You don't see it again anywhere else in any of the other stuff most of the time. I wrote that down here that cat thing that's this series' cute thing. So
which did she take it with them on the ship? Or are they on the ship yet? Where did they go? I don't remember where they left off at.
They are not on. Well, they had just gotten on Ahsoka's ship.
Okay.
Headed toward wherever the Dark Jedi guys are.
Okay. Do we know if the cat's on the ship? We haven't seen that though, right?
I didn't see. I don't know.
Not sure. I do kind of hope she took it with.
It's gotta be. You would think it's gotta be. Speaking of every episode and every show or every movie having their own thing on this, One of the things that's always kind of impressed me is how they continually find new ways to do droids.
Yeah, that
And
too.
this episode shows that there's again like some new directions they went in with droids, which somehow also had awesome droids, even though I'm like, how many times can you do an awesome droid? They found a few more ways here. What did you think of the two droids, the prominent ones?
Um, I honestly, I before I get to those, I do want to give a shout out to the evil droids, the goons, because they're actually competent.
Hmm.
Like one actually does manage to steal the key, and the other does manage, the other
Yeah.
ones do manage to put up a fight. They're actual competent goons, and I love that.
Mhm.
Um,
That's a good point.
Those
the other,
those reminded me of General Grievous's henchmen from whatever that was, episode 2. They reminded me a lot of
yeah,
those back 3. 3. Both.
was it 3?
Uh,
It's a prequel trilogy, at any rate.
yes.
Yeah, yes.
Not 1.
We are experts, ladies and gentlemen.
But so we had Chopper, who was the little astromech R2D2 style droid, and then we had what's the other guy's name I said?
Yang.
Hu Yang. So
Yeah.
this is where I gotta share my little story. So when episode 1 we got done watching, I happened to see on some of the social medias feeds that I get that the new Ahsoka Funko Pops had come out that they just
course they
announced
have.
for pre-order, and I was like, about time. I've been waiting to buy something. So because I collect all the ones in the Mando verse, but I don't collect anything from the movies or the older TV shows. And so I went on to buy them, and they had like an Ahsoka, which I already have one of her, and I only get one of everybody from these, so didn't need her. But they had a Amazon had a Sabine. I was like, cool, I'll get that. Interestingly, of the villains, they only had the Merrick's guy, which I thought was intriguing because sometimes the toys spoil things and sometimes they don't.
Huh.
But my theory here is that they must have like a wave 2 that's going to come out later, and they're not spoiling it with the toys this time, is my guess. So they had her, they had General Syndulla, and they had Chopper, which by episode 1 I didn't even know who the hell Chopper was, but I was like, yeah, I'll get a Chopper, that's cool. And then the last one, and this is why I thought it was funny, is Hu Yang, and he is listed as Professor Hu Yang on his Funko Pop, and I'm like, wait, what? Did he give himself a title? How does that work? Or is that like a spoiler for something? I don't really understand, but
Could
it's
be.
awesome.
The galaxy is a very progressive place in the
All
future.
awesome. So yeah, so Hu Yang and Chopper, what did you think of those two?
I think I got. I mean, despite the fact they don't get a ton of screen time, I felt like I got a good impression of both of them. Like Hu Yang does seem very cautious, very overly cautious. Every droid has some sort of tick, it seems like, and his is an abundance of care, of discretion, and I can get behind that. Like at the beginning, it's like, weren't you here to pick me up earlier? As the explosions, rolling towards them, he's like, I was maintaining a safe distance, that kind of thing.
She almost
Yeah,
dies.
yeah,
I didn't want the ship to get scratched.
right. And Chopper, we only see a few scenes where he has any major role, but he's got personality. He
Yeah.
actually has arms, which I'm not used to for one of those types of droids, which he's able to really he's kind of a pack rat, so he kind of needs the arms. Like he had a bunch of stuff squirreled away on the side of the ship. So
That was funny.
um,
Yeah.
but
That
yeah,
was
I
hilarious.
liked him. Yeah, I enjoyed both of them, but I always have had kind of a soft spot for the droids.
Yeah.
What about you two?
Yeah, I mean that goes right along with the cute creatures thing, is that like every series, like you said, has its own droid that somehow manages to be unique and one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah.
Like every series is like that. So um I enjoyed both of these. Hu Yang definitely is like more of like a 3PO vibe, but like without the bumbling comedic aspect of it. He's just like actually like good at his job, and
Yep.
but like this well-spoken, like logical, almost human-esque,
Yes.
character. um and then yeah, Chopper, I it was so funny in that scene with him. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but if you listen, like everything, his bleeps and bloops are very clearly English, just highly distorted.
Yeah.
And just like the one part where he like finds the tracker that he's looking for, he very clearly says, "I found it." And it's just distorted enough to where it sounds like bleeps and bloops.
Yeah.
But it like you can actually go through and listen to the entire conversation to understand what he's saying, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or if they just didn't distort it enough. But I mean, the whole thing was really comical, and like you just instantly love this little guy.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it might have been was before we were on the air, because if you haven't seen this show yet, Chopper, I mean, kind of looks like R2D2 style droid, but he has little tiny arms, which is I mean, we've
Unique.
seen like
I haven't seen one like that.
Like R2's had little things that pop out of him and do different. That sounds wrong, but
So,
anyway,
interface with computers.
Yes,
and stuff,
yes. But this guy has like little tiny arms that he like can do stuff with. He looks like a T-Rex in a mini droid.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. And then I agree with you both. Hu Yang was pretty great as well. Also like, I mean, I guess that could be logic now that you mentioned that, but just like how he was kind of like trying to drive Ahsoka and Sabine back together, like so they were like, don't both be stubborn, pig-headed. Like clearly this is going to work for both of you if you just give each other a chance. Blah blah blah. So that was good. All right, let's see. Any other plot moments that stood out to you, or just kind of scenes that were memorable that we didn't cover yet from the first 2 episodes?
I will say I lost a bit of respect for the villains, or at least Shin, because during the fight with Sabine, because she could have so easily made that wound fatal. I mean, so for obvious spoilers, but to try and stop the droids and whatnot from stealing the map, Sabine grabs the lightsaber she had from when she was a Padawan and tries to face off against this person who's much more skilled than she is. A fight ensues, and Shin ends up skewering Sabine through the chest. Now, a competent villain, if they cared at all, would have just been able to flick the wrist and like, oh, there's a hole torn out of your side. You're not coming back from that. But instead, she leaves it as this little tiny, well, not tiny, but it's like a quarter-sized hole going through her. And I didn't for a second believe that Sabine was dead. It's just there was no tension, there was no sense of suspense. It's just like, oh, well, okay, she's gonna be okay. She's gonna come back from that, because it wasn't it could have been a fatal wound, but I knew it wasn't going to be, because the villain didn't do what the villain needed to do. And that sticks in my craw a little bit, because if you're going to be evil, go evil all the way. Don't leave loose ends.
Could have kept Cat. That would have been evil.
Oh, damn.
Oh, jeez.
That's dark.
Well, the cat was like, so what if the cat was like defending Sabine, and then what's her name? Shin was just like slices the cat in half.
Damn.
You were also the one who posted that the kicking the squirrel video from Baldur's Gate 3, weren't you?
Yeah.
You monster.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was. I didn't think, I'm with you 100%. I didn't think that she would die, but I have to say I was also shocked that that's how they left episode 1 as a viewer, just like her taking the big hit, which we've seen kill plenty of people through the movies and stuff, especially villains, stormtroopers and whatnot. But yeah, you knew she was going to come back from it, but I still thought that was pretty ballsy to end episode 1 right there. Maybe less ballsy because episode 2 was already available for streaming at that point, but which I didn't think about till just now because I watched it over 2 days. But that scene is kind of fun too, just because I don't know that we've I'm trying to think, because really what you have are like the 2 Padawans fighting each other. Right. But the one has like a really stable, good guiding relationship, but oddly that's the evil side. And then we have, the heroic side where they have the broken thing there. But it's kind of fun that we actually have like 2 generations of quote unquote Jedi, matched up against each other, plus all the other characters on top of that. I guess you could say like maybe Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, and like episode 1 was kind of like 2 generations, I guess, but I don't know if that's happened a lot where you've had multiples like that. Um, okay, any other moments that stood out to you? Tell you one that I thought was ridiculous. We knew stormtroopers were bad at shooting, but when General Syndulla grabs that big chunky ass ship and starts flying up after the transport that had the hyperdrive on it, and like they couldn't hit her with like 10,000 shots that they took all the way literally into space, like still missing her. I was like, what the hell? And they were like, I don't even know if they were manned guns or auto guns, but I was like, why even have them? What purpose are those serving if you can't hit a giant slow ship behind you?
They could have put that scene together better, in which she was like maybe flying like laps, like loops around the other ship, so like they couldn't track her at all, but she literally just stayed behind them and just swayed back and forth, and they couldn't hit her. So.
Right? Oh, well, at least she must have watched Game of Thrones, because she didn't run in a straight line, so that was good. So pull that one back out for that.
I would say like just the saber fights in general have been pretty well choreographed so far. I've enjoyed those quite a bit. I think it it's maybe like not a huge leap from what we've seen previously, but I think because of the fact that they've all been with female characters at this point, they feel like more graceful, I guess what maybe the word would be. They're a little bit more fluid and like less straightforward, like sword duel kind of thing going on.
It's almost like dance moves versus aggression or something.
Yeah. Or maybe even like Darth Maul was kind of like that a bit. But yeah, I think so far they've been really, really well done, just in general. So
yeah, and like I wasn't sure how I felt about this at first, but like how when Shin is fighting, there's a lot of flourishes with the cloak she's got, and at first I thought, well, that's just trying to be stylish, trying to make the scene more engaging. But then I started to wonder, is that like a misdirection thing? Just to try and distract the enemy, so they can't see your next swipe coming, kind of thing. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, I could almost see that being a valid tactic. So I do like how they're using even stuff that aren't just the swords, the lightsabers. I mean, they're actually trying to be inventive with the fights. So yeah,
yeah, like in that one fight, she does like spin around, and like the cape almost does like come into part of the fight. It seems like so.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like saying, yeah, it's been fights with female characters, but there's that one. It looks more like a guy. I mean, we don't know because he's wearing a helmet the whole time.
Yeah, true.
but that person is pretty dark. It looked like a conquistador or something with that helmet, the body armor, and the saber with the handguard on it that looks like very reminiscent of something from like Spanish 1800s. So
yeah, some interesting designs.
Yeah, agreed.
Ahsoka,
I was going to mention also with lightsabers. Like, I don't know if we've had many heroes that dual wield lightsabers in the TV shows and movies either.
It's the only one I'm aware of.
So she's pretty handy dealing both of those. And
let's count Grievous.
Yeah, I liked the actually that must have been the beginning scene too, right? When she is searching for the orb, and she has the villains come down, and she like drops in the hole and like cuts them out from the bottom with them when they're like dropping in the hole and stuff like that. I thought that was again like brains over brawn, even though you have them, like make use of them. It's a good way to take out your enemies.
Speaking of lightsaber designs, though, there when they have footage of the two Dark Jedi and they're trying to identify who they are, someone says like that I haven't seen anyone design a lightsaber like that since this all this time ago, and I'm like, it didn't look that different to me. Maybe I'm just an uncultured plebeian or something, but I didn't really see what was so special about the lightsaber they were looking at. Unless the color was slightly different of the beam or something in the grip, but it looked like most any other lightsaber to me.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of talk in at least recent series about saber design, but no specifics.
Yeah.
So like, we get this sense that they are all like unique and like crafted away, but we have zero information on what differences make them different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good call. So basically, it seems like the hilt is all I ever noticed that's different. Although I did notice one of the characters, and I'm trying to think, was it Shin or was it one of the guards, or I can't remember who it was, but had like the different handle with like the hand protector on it. Like there was
yeah,
actually
that
like
night guy.
Yeah.
was that
The guy with the helmet.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the night guy. Yeah, okay. Because his stood out to me. So I was like, oh, that's a little bit different. Which
Mhm.
I'm not sure what that would do if a lightsaber hit it. Doesn't seem like it would do anything. But
Lightsabers seem to go through any material except another saber, so
yeah,
that isn't going to guard your hand at all.
Or there's like
Right.
electro staffs that the droids were using.
That's true too.
which
Yeah.
actually I thought the same thing about Sabine's armor when she pulled it up and was like setting it on the table, and I was like, oh, that's cool. She's got like a whole setup, and then she like put it on, and I was like, oh, 45% of her body's exposed still, so that's not such great armor. But I guess from the
Yeah.
Mandalorian, we kind of learned like they have to earn their pieces as they go through. So maybe she left before she got
Yeah.
very far with that. I don't know. I hope we hear more about her backstory for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And really Ahsoka's, because
we know
like,
nothing
where the hell has she
Yeah.
been
other than
since?
she was Anakin's
Yeah, that's
apprentice. That's it.
pretty much all that we know. Yeah. And for being the
and she
title
was-
character.
Hanging out on a planet with Luke.
Yeah.
yeah, so she was somewhere during episodes 4, 5, and 6 at least.
Mhm.
I don't know if we'll see all of that. I do know, and I hope this doesn't spoil it for anybody, but I do know Hayden Christensen is in this series as well. Dun 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 dun.
I saw him on a character list, so
it's gotta be true.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's not a character list. Okay, anything else plot wise, character wise here? Is there anything that, I mean, I guess we just mentioned some, but is there anything else you're like hoping this series comes to? So we have 6 episodes left, which sounds like a lot and a little as these things go. So Justin, your big concern is that you're thinking they're going to get it up to that big point and then kind of end it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it does feel I didn't hate the scenes where it's drawn out and kind of focused on someone trying to figure out something for a while. I mean, it's not an entire episode devoted to constructing parts for the Death Star, Andor. But I do feel like it's already, there's padding there, and if they're already front loading the padding, I'm worried that they're going to keep trying to draw things out, get to that climactic, point at the end where they get to the new galaxy and like something big happens, and then it's going to be stay tuned for season 2 or whatever movie is coming out, or something like that. I don't know. I don't think there's enough time, like Brett said, to really fit everything in, getting to the other galaxy, finding Thrawn, dealing with him, and then getting back. But I really wonder where they're going to leave off, because they have to pick a jumping off point at somewhere, and I don't know what that's going to be yet.
Yeah, they had talk of like a Mandoverse movie. I think we mentioned that in the Mandalorian review for that season. I don't know if that will be the plan eventually to bring that to the big screen. Maybe that's the big fight against Thrawn is going to be on the big screen, which does tie into my next question I was going to ask, which is, do you think this show is going to overlap with some of the characters we've seen from the other shows, or will this be standalone? Or would you like it to be with the other characters, maybe, or would you like it to be standalone?
To this point, they've done a lot of crossover, at least a fair amount. So I would not be surprised at all if there is some. I right off the top of my head, I don't know which those characters might be. If it seems like perhaps Mando is like maybe the more obvious choice, but
Yeah.
I don't see what role he would play other than just like a passing character. Really, but
Yeah,
go on.
I was just gonna say I I can't picture they're going to bring Boba Fett into this. I don't even know what they're going to do with that character. I feel like they're going to leave him on that planet for a while until they decide to do something with him. But maybe Mando. I mean, Mando, I think, am I wrong? I think Mando and Grogu like flew off at the end of the last season of Mandalorian. That was kind of like they're out. But
They were kind of, yeah, in exile, and he was looking for jobs from the New Republic.
oh yeah, okay. So I don't know. They could show up, I guess, but maybe Ahsoka will call Luke back in. He seems to be out there floating around someplace. So who knows?
Well, I would say I would prefer this to be kind of its own standalone thing, but that's already impossible because you ideally have all that backstory from the cartoons, yeah, not to mention the guest appearances on the other shows that you need to really fully understand everything that's going on. So I think it's probably inevitable that this is going to be crossed over with one or multiple of the other projects going on. But honestly, I feel like there's enough implied homework that you need to do to really get a full grasp of this show that I don't really want more on top of it. But I have a feeling it's inevitable.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I don't know. I look at this one as just like I'm never going to watch the cartoons. I'll just be honest about that. And so this is going to be whatever it presents to me is what it presents to me. You know what I mean? This will be, for better or worse, a standalone story that I experience, and we'll go from there. I don't know. Maybe it'll cross over with those other shows. Maybe it won't. I do know, like, if you just search headlines from this show, like, there's some that are like characters back from animated series, yay. And then there's other ones that are like what they did in episode 2 just ruined 4 years of stories from the cartoons. So maybe they're like, so it's weird because it seems like they're like simultaneously bringing characters from the cartoons and like some of the history from the cartoons, but at the same time being like, oh, you thought you knew how this is going to go and it's not. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Typically
know when
doesn't
they're
go
in
very well.
the I don't know who the guy is, the king or the president or the premier or whoever, Clancy Brown's character, which I was happy Clancy Brown was in this show. P.S. also giving the big speech to the crowd. And I know the mural behind him, I believe, was Rebels, if I'm not mistaken, the second cartoon. I think those were the characters from Rebels, but again, I don't know these things for sure.
Mhm.
So that was something already. Okay, anything else we want to say about this? I did just, as I was watching this, we did have one passing thought, not about the show itself, but how much of a joy is Rosario Dawson? I started to think about this watching this because she was in all of those fabulous Netflix Marvel shows. That she was the connective tissue through all of those. And then like her involvement with like the Kevin Smith universe back in the day and like Sin City, and like she's just had all these really fun roles, and she's never someone I would think of like as being in Hollywood. Like if you had me list 1,000 people, I probably wouldn't come up with her. And this was just another one. Like she's this other cool character on screen, and I'm like, she's just a joy to have around. So
She does. I would agree. She does seem very good in like everything that I can remember her doing.
Yeah.
Like she's enjoyable to watch, has good presence on screen. And yeah, it's just fun to watch.
that just struck me as
But
I was
like you said,
watching this.
yeah, is not like a huge star either.
Right.
Yeah.
Somehow. So
Well, let's not forget her first TV appearance apparently was 2003 in Punked.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, she's got a lot I've never seen, that's for sure, looking back at the list of her work here. But yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. Do we want to? Well, fuck it. Let's put a rating on it. We always do. So
Great.
let's put the rating of, oh man, do we want to say how good it was, how much you enjoyed it, or how much you're looking forward to the rest? I guess the last one makes sense. So let's,
Max, we've only got 2 episodes to work with.
yeah. So let's say, how excited are you to see the rest of this series play out? Which I was prepared to answer the other question, so now I have to think about it.
Well, I'll jump in here. So kind of circle back around to the question you asked before about just like concerns or anything. I it's the big thing to me is like, is there going to be huge plot holes around this whole General Thrawn? Thawne, that's the DCU universe there.
Yeah.
Is there going to be like these plot holes around him, per the questions we asked before, but like how, why, where are any of those going to get answered? And if not, is it going to downgrade the experience? I mean, we don't know these questions. These are just speculative right now. So we have nothing to, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter in the end. But that's like the big question mark to me. And then I just really hope we get more story from these characters, more backstory, and then more interactions with each other to like flesh out character, profiles. Because that definitely, some shows are like more action based, adventure based, whatever. So far, this one feels a bit more character based, which I prefer in a series, whatever the overall theme of it is, needs to have good characters. So I'm hoping that they do good with that. Overall, I'm excited to see where it's going. I definitely will keep watching, and I would say on a 1 to 10 scale, it's probably an 8. Let's give it an 8.
Okay.
All right. I guess that goes to me. So I know I did have some misgivings about certain parts of this that I brought up earlier, but overall, I didn't dislike my time with the show by any means. I am a little worried that a lot of the stuff that were that happened before in the stuff I haven't seen, I'm a little worried that's just going to get not very well addressed, or if it gets addressed, it'll be through exposition, and there is a fair amount of exposition in terms of like character backgrounds and stuff already, where we're just like told, that Ahsoka has a history with Anakin. We're told that they hadn't seen each other in years. They're instead of being shown, and I'm worried that any sort of catch up is going to be in that vein versus like even just like a few clips, adapt a few scenes from the cartoon as live action to kind of show what happened. That would be a lot more impactful, a lot more effective, I think. So I'm worried that it's just going to be lip service to a lot of the backgrounds with these characters and their relationships up till this point. But going forward, I am interested. I am definitely interested to see where this goes. I know it's mentioned that I have a lot of issues with the idea of a completely new galaxy, but I am curious to see what they do with it. And honestly, there is enough action here, and it's done well enough that even if the backstory and even if the overall plot is a bit not as fleshed out as it could be, there should still be enough here to keep me engaged as long as it keeps going in the track that it is. So overall, if I had to give like a number rating to how much I'm looking forward to the rest of it, taking all that into account, I'd have to say about 7 out of 10. I'm cautiously optimistic. I more or less like what I've seen so far, but they've got some big boots to fill to try and tell a compelling story with the scope and the stakes they've set up.
We didn't even mention the first Disney Plus series to have the opening crawl of text. Was not the traditional style of Star Wars crawl of text, but it was a form of crawl of text as well.
It looked like a Chinese bootleg version of the Star Wars text crawl, kind of.
That's from the other galaxy, Justin.
Suddenly it makes sense.
That's what they do there. Okay. Yeah, to me, this one, I don't know. Maybe I'm like a toy person to a fault. Like I watch my movies like they're toys or something, but I just see all these shiny new characters on screen, and I just think of like their potential they could have as they go through. We only really know Ahsoka and just barely of these characters. I mean, everybody else in this is new to me. at least because I haven't seen the cartoons. Footnote to everybody, though, apparently I found something that referenced apparently Ezra's power, the guy who's missing, is that he can communicate with I don't know if it's all animals or it's just the space whale specifically, but apparently it says in the canon he calls the whales to like destroy Thrawn's ship and take them out of the galaxy to avoid Thrawn taking over the galaxy or something. So I don't know. So maybe that's where I saw the line about the space whales at, regardless. But I also, I don't know. It's so intriguing. Like, what's past the edge of the galaxy? Is there like a huge void and then there's like another galaxy? Like the ships in these series go hyper speed, like so fast. It's just weird that they're like, no one knows what's past that way. No one's ever tried. It's
Well,
just a
the space
big
between
invisible
stars,
wall out there where the screen
Put up
stops.
those signs on the edge of the galaxy. Keep it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the space between stars is vast enough. Between
Yeah.
galaxies is virtually incomprehensible. So yeah, there's a good reason why no one's gone to another galaxy, even with hyperspace, because it would
Get
take
ready to
forever.
be comprehensified because it's coming. I mean, hell, if Luke can force ghost himself across the planets, come on, they could get this going. Anyway, back to this. But anyway, I just really like the dynamic between Ahsoka and Sabine so far. That's been fun, and like the droids and the general. I'm not sure what role the general is going to have. If it's going to be fairly minor, or if she's going to kind of take on like more of the Poe Dameron role here, where she's kind of like leading the armies while the individual soldiers that we follow are doing their thing against other individual soldiers. But I like the pairing of the master and apprentice on the bad side. Both those characters really stood out to me. I'm actually not sold on the witch yet, but I'm intrigued by the idea of like a witch in Star Wars. I just don't know how that plays out at this point. So there's
using
that.
the Force in different ways, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe, I guess.
In the second Ewok movie, they had actual magic, so maybe they're pulling from that pool. I don't know.
That could be. Yeah, I don't know. I like the masked guy or girl or whoever the masked character is as well. And then, presumably these two people they're looking for at least will make an appearance here. But like I said, I just the first two episodes really just I was fully invested in this. It felt like every time I watch one of the seasons of The Mandalorian, it just gives me like such good feelings inside. I just love those characters. I love that world. And this felt like that, but with different people, like those same types of feelings, but with different people. Like I think we have some really likable characters here, some really interesting dynamics between the characters on both sides, which is also cool because it's not Kylo Ren. So I'm gonna do the same number because if I was that excited to watch them, I'm also excited enough to know where they're going from here. So I'm gonna give these two debut episodes a 9 out of 10. Big number here on this one, but I really, really enjoyed these first two, despite some flaws we pointed out here tonight. And I look forward to watching the rest of these for sure. We'll see where they end up with.
Okay.
So there's that. Anybody have any last thoughts on this bad boy? Or closing thoughts in general?
I'm just wondering if we will get the answer to whether that is her hair or is it a hat. Seems we have another Toad from Mario situation here.
Are you talking about
Ahsoka?
the thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wondered that too,
kind of
actually.
Things coming down. Is that like I've never known, and I would just wonder, is that like a hat covering her hair, or is that her hair? I mean, it looks.
I don't think it's hair. I think it's more tentacles.
Neither, but it is. I did note that when we were watching it. Like they always have these characters with, it's probably for the makeup because then they can kind of hide where it attaches to the head. But but you're right. All of the characters that have had those types of things on their heads have always had like some kind of headpiece like that. That's interesting too. Yeah.
Aside from that guy in Jabba's palace, I mean, you could actually see his whole head.
Oh yeah, the Major Domo.
Yeah,
so you're talking about from the Book of Boba Fett. Oh,
No,
you're talking
no.
Bib Fortuna from the
No,
old one?
the good Star Wars.
How dare you? Oh, that guy was a
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
Bib
the green
Fortuna.
skin, the pointy teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, isn't he? No, he's not. Does he? That's a whole nother thing. Anyway. Um. Yeah. So this will drop Monday. So let's see. We'll see what the next episode might be. There, we could record some shenanigans. We'll see what happens. Before the next one of these comes out. So. But if no other closing thoughts, I guess thanks for joining us, everybody. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms and our social medias out there as well. And recommend us to a neighbor if you know somebody that might like to listen to us out there. I just heard from one of our longtime listeners in person the other day that they're like 10 episodes behind, but still plowing through them. And I was like, awesome, keep going.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Okay, well, we will sing our theme song tonight in the vein of choosing one of the characters from these first 2 episodes and how they would sing the theme song to Fond. So I'll give you a second to process which character you're going to choose here.
Can I look
And
up the pop rock song that Sabine was running away to? Try to match it
oh,
to
right,
that.
the like Star Wars J-pop song that she was trying to
Yeah.
ride her bike to. Actually, it's pretty catchy. I have to say, but all right. Well, everybody, till next time, this has been another episode of
Fans for fans for fans. Occasionally not to disagree.
This is Ezra. I'm in a different galaxy. Come find me.
You need to do a whale song. You missed your chance.
That what space whales sound like, but there's no sound in space. I'm confused. Oh boy. Bye, everybody. Take
Have
care.
a good one, everybody.
Yeah.